Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Court of History. I'm Sean Wilentz with my confrere, Sid Blumenthal, and we're going to talk about many issues, but we're going to start with the Department of Justice and with a piece that Sid wrote for The Guardian not too long ago. Sid, about 2 weeks ago, the President of the United States gave a speech at the Department of Justice, which is really quite extraordinary, I think, in the annals of American history. What did you think of that?
Well, this was a declaration of war on the part of Donald Trump. He didn't mention it, but he was engaged in it at the time. And by a declaration of war, I mean that literally, not figuratively. People say we should take Trump figuratively and not literally, but this was literal. So on March 14th, Trump went to the Justice Department for a rally. What I've learned from Justice Department lawyers is not a single one of them in Main Justice, as it's called, were invited to his rally. It was a political rally, but it was more than that. And he hails Pam Bondi, his attorney general, and Kash Patel, his FBI director, as tough. He attacks the law firms as really bad people. And then he calls the illegal migrants stone cold killers.
Killers, right.
So and then the rally ends, as all Trump rallies end, with the playing of YMCA.
Right, exactly. Right.
Out of the
first in American history.
In the department auditorium, which, by the way, is a gay anthem. At the same time, that very day, Trump had signed his executive order citing the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, a supposed wartime measure promulgated by John Adams in a misbegotten fiasco on his part. And Trump applies it to the Tren de Aragua gang of Venezuela, who he says is coordinating with the Maduro regime. And so that justifies his roundup, his abduction, really, without due process of 238 men that we know of. And they're taken without any due process to a maximum security prison, a kind of concentration camp in El Salvador, run by the Salvadorian strongman, Nayib Bukele, who is being paid by the U.S. government. We don't know how much, minimum $6 million, but others say more, and we don't know where the money's going. Could be his pockets. And that's the beginning of the legal crisis that Trump has plunged into and the potential constitutional crisis. Today, which is May 1st, May Day, a Texas judge, one of Trump's own appointees from his first term, declared all of this illegal because he said there was no invasion, there's no national security crisis of this sort, and therefore it doesn't apply. In the meantime, the Supreme Court had already ruled that Trump should return one of these men and facilitate his return. His name is Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was a legal resident of the United States and scooped up in.
Married to an American citizen and all.
Married to an American citizen with a family, working and so on, paying taxes. And lately, Trump said he has got proof that he's really a gang member, and he showed a photograph to Terry Moran of ABC News in an interview. I know you're laughing, of his hand, and it said MI-13, which is a gang, but except that the initials and the numbers were photoshopped.
Which
leads to another potential scandal, which is a sort of typical Trump variation on Nixon, but it's what did he know about the photoshopping and when did he know it?
Right. Well, I mean, but this is a story that's very much in play. But the court actually did stand up. I mean, and the courts have shown, I think, the difference between judicial conservatism and MAGA, that the two are really distinct. And it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, right? I mean, this has always been a kind of crazy coalition all along in one way. But it seems that some of the genuinely conservative justices, including those appointed by Trump, as you just mentioned, but also by Ronald Reagan, are standing up, right?
Well, there are a whole series of judges involved in making rulings on these cases involving the Venezuelan migrants taken to the El Salvador prison, not to mention others. And there's a Maryland federal judge who has ordered the return of Abrego Garcia. And she says that the administration is in willful disregard and operating on bad faith, and she may order contempt investigation
Right.
and a possible special prosecutor. The same with Judge Boasberg. He's also declared them in willful disregard of the court and says if they don't cooperate with him and listen to his rulings, he will appoint a special prosecutor if the Department of Justice doesn't do so. And then we come to J. Harvey Wilkinson III on the Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit. And he is an eminent conservative figure within the judiciary and within the conservative movement. He's a Reagan appointee, and he issued quite an amazing ruling.
Yeah, it really is incredible. It's sort of a document for the ages in many ways.
Yeah, it's for the early Trump administration. Historians will look to this document, and it will be cited. This is one of the most important documents of our era, and everyone should be aware of it. And here's what Wilkinson wrote, and I want to read some of it. The government is asserting a right to stash away residents of this country in foreign prisons without the semblance of due process that is the foundation of our constitutional order. And then he concludes, he says, if today the executive claims the right to deport without due process and in disregard of court orders, what assurance will there be tomorrow that it will not deport American citizens and then disclaim responsibility to bring them home? And what assurance shall there be that the executive will not train its broad discretionary powers upon its political enemies? The threat, even if not the actuality, would always be present, and the executive's obligation to take care that the laws be faithfully executed would lose its meaning.
I mean, just astonishing.
Of
You
course,
go back to Richard Nixon's day, and nothing like that was called upon to be said. This is beyond all of that.
well, Trump, of course, has committed numerous impeachable offenses. He commits them daily, but the Republican Congress is oblivious to all of that and has.
That's my question, Sid. Is whether this judicial break, if you will, or fissure, or something in the ranks in the judiciary is going to translate politically. I mean, will the Republicans in Congress be listening to Judge Wilkinson or not?
Well,
what do you think?
I think that this is going to deepen and continue to a more profound schism between the federal judiciary, which Trump thought he had in his pocket through his appointments to the Supreme Court and to other courts in his first term, and the Trump administration and Trump himself. J.D. Vance has urged that Trump disregard any order of the Supreme Court. And he already is in violation of that in terms of not, quote, facilitating the return of Abrego Garcia. It's still going through other courts, and we will come to the final break on that. Trump said the other night he could return him, which of course was a gift to Abrego Garcia's defense, and which shows that he has the power to do so, contrary to what his lawyers have told the various federal courts, including the Supreme Court. So he has shown contempt for the courts, whether or not he is in contempt of the courts.
Right.
And that's where we're at. Interestingly, and not enough has been made of this, he's being sued on the tariff for which he's declared an emergency power based on national security. And he's being sued for that by the Koch brothers, who are the major funders of the conservative movement. And
Right.
guess who else? Leonard and Leo.
Really?
Leonard and Leo, who is the chair of the Federalist Society, or past chair, who's its guiding light, leading spirit, who controls hundreds of millions of dollars in dark money used on behalf of the Republicans and to pack the courts, and who has built up this leviathan
Right.
politically,
Right.
is now in conflict with Trump over his violation of the law. Now, no one has made enough of that conflict, but that sore is about to open even more. And using a medical metaphor, we will see whether conservatism develops sepsis.
Well, on that medical note, we're going to sign off for now. We'll be talking more about executive orders and all the rest of it down the road. Come on back to the Court of History. We'll continue the conversation.
In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.